Hey everyone, Warwick's here. So we're back, continuing to look over the talents now that PTR has all the new Dragonflight talents builds available. We only have 60 talent points, of course, to work with, or 60 levels worth of talent points to spend with, so we're not getting full builds. So today we're going to go over Windwalker Monk and kind of talk about this. This is the new frame for Dragonflight, which I really like. It gives really nice, clear expectations, what their weapons that they use, what their main stat is, and a couple sample abilities. Also some photos, which I love the Brewmaster one. Mistweaver one's obviously not in yet. Not a fan of the Windwalker one personally, but Tiger Palm and Invoke Shuen being sample abilities, I think are good choices. In order to activate these, all you got to do is hit the activate button. This is all using default UI, of course, in the PTR. And it activates the specialization, and as you can see, turns it active in yellow. Now right behind my camera, there's two tabs at the bottom. There's the specialization tab, which you still use by default N to open, and then there's the talent tab itself. Now there's a couple of different ways you can go about doing Windwalker builds. This build that you're looking at right now is a more sort of AoE focused centric build with spinning crane kick, dance of Chi-Ji, crane vortex, shadowboxing treads, those types of abilities that kind of mix in well with the AoE side. We of course got Invoker's Delight for that, and of course we came down to get Strike of the Windlord because it's the artifact trait ability coming back into the mix. So one of the things that you're going to see me do here on the class side of the tree, basically the only thing that we're kind of missing that we really want is the Fort Brew cooldown, and then probably Generous Pour to give you the avoidance. You could also come down and grab this roll ability in order to get the leech. I think both are fine. We're also potentially taking Escape from Reality as well. So some points missing in the tree. You're going to get 5 more class talent points. So probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably be my guess. And then you're going to get 5 more class tree bonuses. So for AoE, you're probably maybe grabbing Bonedust, which is going to be the current form. But you could also go in and obviously want to get Whirling Dragon Punch, which is still good. There's 2 points in Rising Star, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then grab like Phalanx Harmony, which I think is going to be a potential build in AoE as well. So overall, just a really good varied tree. I like the Windwalker Monk tree. Well, how does it feel? So since we're doing an AoE build, we're going to come to these little training dummies over here. And for the most part, let me make sure I get all my buttons correct here. Forgot I changed all my keybinds, so we are going to have to make some adjustments. Alright, and then Shift Q is this. Put that over here for now. Shift E is this. Put that there because I won't have Celia's in the future. Alright, so C1 is that. C1 will be that. We'll make C2 this. Transcendence, transcendent to transfer. Tiger's Lust. Tiger's Lust. This. Dampen Harm. There we go. I think for the most part that's going to be what we want to do. And then we'll put Flying Serpent Kick on 4. Okay. And then these, because they are not abilities. Okay, so I think I have this set up the way that I need to. Thank you for your patience on that. So overall, what are we looking at? So Windwalker Monk kind of feels the same, honestly. So obviously you want to go in, you're going to start with Expel Harm. Now you get a buff to Tiger Palm when you take the talent. Let's see, where is it at? It's this one, Power Strikes. Basically every 15 seconds you're going to get additional chi. So in theory, we should start Okay, we only got 2 there. And then, you know, Fist of Fury. This is just the core rotation, guys. So just Rising Sun Kick. But for the most part, you know, you respond to the Nets Chi G proc. Strike of the Windlord. You can see the 38k on the crit there. So for the most part, pretty much the same. Nothing much there in terms of going from there. Now, let's go in and blow cooldowns. As you can see, we get our haste back. And you can see we're just really bursting strongly on this. Now, the one thing that I am a little bit concerned about is the fact that the chi generation on this doesn't feel really all that good right now. But overall, like, it feels pretty much the same, and I think that it's going to be really strong from an offensive standpoint. So you're basically doing a lot. Basically, the only thing you do now is you're adding in Strike of the Windlord every minute. What's the cooldown on 45 seconds? 40 seconds. So every 40 seconds, which is normally the cooldown roughly a Fist of the White Tiger, which was a 3 chi generator that kind of got baked into Tiger Palm. You're now instead using that chi on Strike of the Windlord. So you have 3 chi, 4 chi spenders now with Dance of Chi Chi in AoE, which means you got a really strong kit overall to be able to spend your chi out as much as humanly possible. And then you also have ways to be able to really explore your cooldowns quite well. Now, I did test Serenity, which is a choice node here. Serenity, unfortunately, still doesn't feel very good. Only 1 charge, 1.5 minute cooldown versus, 2 charge, 1.5 minute cooldown. So there's nothing that makes Serenity stand out. So I think they need to make some tweaks to Serenity in order to make it better. Now, in single target, you're going to want to do things like Meridian Strikes. You can do Spiritual Focus, Teachings of the Monastery. I actually don't think is as good as I hoped it would be, but Tiger Palm is going to be basically is now one of, if not it and Expel Harm are basically your only generators, along with like Chi Burst. So you're going to need it in order to be able to do that. So you're going to be Tiger Palming a lot more, but you also Blackout Kick before you fully stack it up. So I think there's potential for this, but for the most part, like, it kind of just, I didn't really notice it. So obviously things like Rising Star are going to come into the fold. You'll get that. You'll basically only come down this side of the tree potentially to get as far as Touch of Karma for defensives, but then basically you almost ignore the rest of this. Like, hit combo is kind of out of place on this tree. Inner Peace might be something that you get in order to come down to get like Hidden Master's Forbidden Touch. Like, there may be some theoretical builds for that, but for the most part, for single target, you're just going to come down this side of the tree and probably invest heavily into like Zhuan and get ETL. You could potentially get Transfer the Power. You're looking at Last Emperor's Capacitor potentially being a play. I'm not a fan of this, but you could. Zhuan's Bond obviously is going to be in the mix. So overall, like, the spec itself just feels a lot like the same as Windwalker Monk. There is potential, because you still have the Spinning Crane Kick refund, that AoE is going to ultimately boil down to what it is now, which to me is not very fun. I much prefer this style of build where I would use probably Phalanx Stomp in favor over Bonedust Brew to get a little bit of a different mix. Obviously, numbers tuning is going to have to see how that plays out, but anything that makes you ignore your mastery, I'm not a fan of. So I think mastery should be an important stat for all specs, and for a lot of specs it is. Windwalker generally it is, because of its unique, comboing up of everything. But for the most part, like, yeah, it just doesn't change much in the way. So if you're happy with Windwalker right now, I think that you're going to be happy with it in the future. You get a couple of extra tools that I think are really good. Obviously, Summon White Tiger statue being the big one. You're going to be very hard to kill with Diffuse Magic, Dampen Harm, and Fortifying Brew. Like, you get your triple defensives, just like all monks basically are going to get. And you get something like Escape from Reality, which is going to allow you to escape situations in Mythic Plus. Kind of have to be smart about it. Can do it in Raid as well, where you Like if there's like a seed like mechanic like on Zymox, for example, in Castle Nathria, where you have to run a seed out, you can basically lay your Transcendence, grab your seed, run it away, and then Transcendence back, and you're gonna get this increased healing while you do that. And it's only gonna cost 15 energy versus 50, so versus 30. So you're really good there. Unfortunately, Windwalking seems like it's gonna be too out of the way. Eye of the Tiger isn't there. I mean, there is potential that you could grab it. I think the only point that you really have to grab in your leveling process is going to be this 2-minute cooldown reduction. So you and then expel harm. So you get the chi generator. So you get these 2 points, but you get 3 more points to spend. You could grab Eye of the Tiger into 2 Windwalking just to give you that 4% movement speed increase. Like, it's nerfed, like it's 2 and 4 versus the current 10. So Windwalking is just kind of fallen off a lot. Unfortunately, I think it's a casualty of these trees and the new design philosophies. I just don't see a reason that you're going to take it. So you're gonna have to get used to being a little bit slower, even though most people don't notice when they have Windwalking anyways. But you know, overall, I think this tree offers a lot of really good options. I really like Strike of the Windlord being back in, and Thunderfist being in the mix as well. Yeah, dealing additional nature damage on top of what you're doing already. Just overall, the spec I think feels really good. I think that if you are a current Windwalker outside of the Bonedust brew gameplay potentially coming back, I think that you should be pretty satisfied with it. There's a lot of really cool, fun, unique tools in here. Fist of Fury getting propped up through Flashing Fists, Open Palm Strikes is back, and then of course you have this Transfer the Power talent that you can take down at the bottom. You know, here it's 2 points for 10% damage. Servers have been a little unstable ever since PTR released, so apologies for that. And then an Open Palm Strikes, the old Azurite trait coming back. It's a slightly tweaked version, so it's not the most powerful thing, but you know, it's going to be a good investment in your talent points, I think, because you are going to be able to get pretty strong value out of Fist of Fury. And I think Fist of Fury, with these 2 talents in particular, you know, you get a chance to refund chi and it deals additional damage, and then the haste component is down here and transfer the power a little bit. So a little bit of a tweaked version of Open Palm Strikes, but you know, anytime you can get chi refunds, I think you're going to be doing really well. This is the other thing that you can look at too, that you can kind of track for AoE purposes. Again, it's the only way to get Strike of the Windlord, so you're going to be looking at it in single target. So you will be single target spinning Crane Kick when you get your stacks of Jade Ignition. So overall, I think this is just a good passive ability that's going to be there. You're not going to notice it at all. Single target, you can do some tracking of it for, you know, to manage to get the AoE, or get the additional 2,000 damage. Like, I just don't think it's going to be something that you notice. But unfortunately, the pathing is such that you have to get it to get Strike of the Windlord. I don't think Jade Ignition is very good in single target, but Strike of the Windlord is, so you have to take it. So that's my final thought on Mistweaver. That's the video I'm doing next. That's my final thought on Windwalker Monk. So overall, I think this is a tree that's in a pretty decent spot. Some polish needs to be done to it. I think there's some pathing stuff that could be potentially fixed, getting around Jade Ignition, for example. And there's some stuff kind of in this middle part of the tree that could go, and this bottom part of the tree seems very cluttered, so I think there could potentially be some cleanup there. And then in the class tree, I think the biggest offender is like this side of the whole tree is basically borderline useless for all 3 specs. And then you have this section of the tree right here where you have to get 2 points into paralysis in order to get Fort Brew. I don't like that choice, so it is one that you are going to have to consider as part of the choices that you have to make, rather. Hopefully they can do some polish on that to make it good, to make it work and get set up. So, but that's Windwalker Monk, guys. Another short, about 15-minute video. I'm trying to keep all of these around 15 minutes as we go forward. So we'll do Mistweaver next, and then we'll jump into some different classes thereafter. So until the next video, all, I hope you're all staying safe. Hope you're all having fun gaming, and I hope we'll see you all in the next video.